Congratulations, Barbara Cooper, on being inducted into the Squash Canada Hall of Fame. You are so deserving, and you're such an exceptional candidate who's impacted squash on so many different levels. To many of you, whether you've had a lesson with Barb or had a coaching experience or been in one of her coaching courses, you will know that Barbara has created impact. She's left something with you when you have had that contact with her. Barbara is one of the great teachers of the game of squash and life. She had this incredible ability to make an impact on the coaching program in Canada. She helped the future of the game be formed through this program. She would teach people from all over Canada who would go back into their communities and grow squash and leave these tidbits of information all over the country to keep this wonderful game going. Barb had this amazing teaching style that allowed for her to give information that would stay with you. She would take these massive theoretical concepts and make them into these bite-sized pieces. It was an uncanny ability. She was so logical and sequential about how she went about it. She also had this incredible charismatic way that she would storytell about her adventures and experiences in squash that would also encapsulate these ideas and bring them to life. She also was known for her questioning. Everyone knows about Barb's questioning. It made you feel sometimes a little bit uncomfortable, but she always stayed with you. She helped you understand the information in a sequence in which you could then go back and use in the rest of your life. It was an incredible, incredible tool. Many people call some of these things that Barb did Barbisms. We're so grateful that Barb has spent this last year of her career going across the country and educating coach developers and evaluators to keep this program alive. Barb, thank you for always pushing the boundary with the coaching program, with the Women's World Professional Squash Tour in its inception, in all of the leagues within Ontario and Canada, and creating many grassroots programs to push the game forward. You have been an inspiration to all of us. And I have to say personally, thank you so much for being my mentor and my teacher of countless hours of guidance and support and giving of information in order to make me a coach here in Canada. So thank you. I am forever grateful, and I feel so lucky to call you my friend. Congratulations.
Receiving this award has been really profound for me. It's caused me to reflect on my life and really understand how many people have supported me, encouraged me, and given me opportunities that have led me to where I am today. And I'd love the opportunity now to be able to thank them all. So bear with me, because there are a lot of them. First of all, I want to start with my mom and dad. My mom was the sort of person who would always encourage me to do my best. As long as I did that, that was good enough. So even if I didn't make it to world number 1, I made it to world number 8 in the open circuit. That was okay, because I knew I'd done everything I could. She also said that I could do anything I put my mind to. And that meant that I put my time and my energy into it. So that gave me the ability to try and even fail. But as long as I gave it a good shot, I was good. Now my dad, he was different. Gave me all the practical skills that I love doing. And they've been lifesavers over my time in squash, because you need something else to do. When sport is your work, then you need a recreation that's different. So he gave me the practical skills, carpentry, and I sculpt because of that. The other person I'd like to thank is my ex-husband. He was a fantastic coach, and the one thing he told me was this: he gave me a coaching work ethic. He said, if somebody has waited a week to come and see you for their 40-minute lesson, you better give them a good lesson. And so I thank him too, because that's been an ethic of mine right the way through my life. And that's led into my coaching philosophy that was, anybody I touched in terms of squash, anybody I came across, anybody who I got going on squash or was encouraging to play squash, I wanted them to have such a good experience that they would love squash for the rest of their life. They didn't need to be good. They needed to love and play squash for the rest of their life. And that was always my coaching philosophy. So England was the place that I learned squash. And Canada was the place I was allowed to develop squash. So I have to thank Claire Chapman, who was the England coach and manager, and Tony Swift. Tony Swift was our national coach, and he was one of the guys that I could really understand in coaching language, because he gave it to me in a straightforward way that I could take. The other person was a guy called Gamal Awad. He was the Egyptian #1, and I used to train with him in the summers. He was so hard on me that I can tell you I left the court crying on a number of occasions. But because of that, I became a more resilient player, and I was stronger. Then when I came to Canada, Canada was the place where I fell in love with the people in the country. But it was because of me bringing the British team there in 1981. So I have to thank Squash Ontario, Sherry Funston, Sue Swift, and the whole of Squash Canada for bringing the Women's World Team event in 1981 to Toronto. And it was there that I met Paul Frost. So Paul was the squash director at Mayfair Parkway, which was hosting the event. And Paul and I taught squash. So of course, when I came back annually, because Squash Ontario invited me to come back and do promotional tours and coaching and that sort of stuff, I always used to hit with Paul in the summer. Summer was my training time. And it was lovely to be away from England and the pressures of running businesses and stuff, and just come to Canada and train. So I would train with Heather Mackay, who was here at the time. And I remember being on court with Paul one day, and he said, I'm building a club down at the Lakeshore. Would you be interested? And I go, yeah, of course. And I saw Mayfair Lakeshore when it was block work. And he said to me, I'm looking for a squash pro. And I said, I can do that job. And that's another opportunity. He gave me the opportunity to be on the ground floor of a 13-court club and be able to create something out of it, which was spectacular. So in 1987, I came and I ended up living in Canada. And then, of course, because it's a major club and because I had been on the world circuit and I had done all of the national team, I'd done the national coaching for 8 years, and high-level coaching is great, but it's taxing. So for me to come in and be able to develop a club, I loved being able to get the girls to start playing in the summer. You know, when I got here in 1987, the summers were, let's go to the college. And I'm a squash player. That's when all the hard work's done. So we tried to get women's T&D to build. So I have to thank Paul for all of those opportunities. And of course, he was my doubles partner. He was the person who got me on the doubles court. And from there, I managed to get fantastic partners. Kathy Covington, Lolly, Karen Jerome, Al Hunt, Victor Harding. We had lots of success together and thoroughly enjoyed all of that. When I think about the doubles too, I took my level 5, it took me 9 years. I had to chase it around. But my major project was a book that I wrote called Double Up. And that was a doubles book, which, because there was nothing on the market, I couldn't find anywhere really to get some resources for people who wanted to learn doubles. So I wrote it. Going on, like when I think about Mayfair, Mayfair gave us the opportunity to be groundbreaking in a number of ways. We started to run 2 national championships back to back. So we ran the 2000 and 2001 national championships. We had 475 people in the draws. We had 42 draws. And when people say to me, I can't play, I'm working, I would go, no problem. You can play in the B event. We're playing that in the evenings. Yeah, no, I'm not good enough to play in the B. No problem, we've got a C event. No. And really, it came down to it. I was going to run an event to make sure that they played, and we had an absolute blast. That was a celebration of squash. And that's when I could see the squash community. You know, our community is very, very unique. It is probably one of the most supportive, tight communities that you can see. Tennis, badminton do not have the same culture. And I want to really celebrate squash itself and the opportunity squash gave me for this wonderful culture that everybody has where we're supportive of each other. When I think back to 2009, when another opportunity came to me, was the Coaching Association in Ontario. Susan Kitchen was the executive director, and Jeremy Cross was involved in the training. They gave me an opportunity to become a learning facilitator and a coach developer for all of the multi-sport. So this was delivering things like psychology and performance that every coach had to take. Doing that and getting the training from the Coaching Association was huge because it made me more confident as a learning facilitator with better skills in terms of creating an atmosphere where coaches wanted to learn. There are so many people who in my life have made me look good. And I want to pick out somebody particular, apart from Jim Patton, who is doing this as we speak, he's doing the recording. My assistant for 20 years, Bruce Tubbe, we did helpmysquashgame.com, and he was the one who was the editor. He was the one who put all the music and put everything together, and has been a super assistant to me for 20 years. We were, I think, a great team at the Lakeshore, and I wanted to shout out to him because, as I say, he was one of those guys that always made me look good. So 2015 saw another opportunity for me, and that was the Pan Am Games. And it gave me an opportunity to help run with Anne Smith a major event, which I had never done. This was a massive undertaking held down at the exhibition place. And Anne, of course, was a great player in her own right. She played for Scotland, and we used to play each other from time to time when we were playing the British internationals and things like that. So she was fantastic to work with and has been such an influence on Canadian squash over the years as well. So I felt like I had run an event, I played in an event, I hosted events in the club. So that part of me was feeling very satisfied. And then we were starting to get hit by COVID. Well, what opportunity that was. At that time, Squash Canada had hired Jeff Johnson, who is a coach in his own right. And he had an opportunity now, because things were a little quieter, that he wasn't having to run so many events, that we could focus on the coaching program. And we could look at it and really build some sustainability, some real, we could get some educated coaches right the way across the country. Because what was happening was there were various centres that were well served for coaches, but if we looked across the country, some of the eastern provinces, the Maritimes, were not as well developed. So Jeff and Janet McLeod is the chairman of the coaching committee, they got together and their coaching committee started to create some coaching and asked me to help lead it. So in the last little while, I think we've certified, to my knowledge, we've certified 8 provincial coaches. We've got others on the way. We have now got provincial coach evaluators. We have 3 in BC, new ones. We have 2 in the Maritimes. This is huge for squash and for the health of the game generally. You know, I am a coach. I believe in coach education. And I can tell you that unless you've got, squash is one of those games that unless you've got a really knowledgeable coach driving the program tends to falter after a while. So having these coaches and having that impetus from Squash Canada, Jeff Johnson and Janet McLeod, pushing the program along, honestly now, I really do feel like I am getting to the point where I'm retired. I again thank you very much for the privilege of this award and want to thank you so much for the opportunity to thank the most important people in my life.
Woo, all right. Beautifully done. You are good. And just for the unedited copy, look at those gold shoes. I love it. I love it. You are awesome.